As to making a choice for that change.
I'm going to talk about her space, and her space stands for harmony, empowerment, and will. Our mission is to support all and further exploring and ideas to be like babies, friends, and sisters. As a Black student, I feel like I need to be presented, and her space helps us bring our creativity to the board and let us just be creative on our own.
Thank you so much for that. Can you please say each of your names, please?
My name is Yvonne Lyon.
My name is Jamila Lewis. My name is Fatima Kente.
Excellent. First, I just want to say thank you so much. You weren't nervous at all. You did a phenomenal job. And on behalf of our Board of Education, we want to make sure that we understand and appreciate your willingness to tell us about the great and fantastic work in Black excellence that's happening at Savannah Oaks Middle School. We understand that representation matters and your identity matters, and it matters in all spaces. I also want to make it clear to everyone on the stage and to our public and anyone that's listening, this is far beyond Black History Month. You know, Black history is American history, and so while we are recognizing you during Black History Month, we want to show appreciation that this is not a one stop into a month of recognition. This is an appreciation for who you are, the magic and brilliance that you bring as students, and we will continue to work to meet our mission and our equity statement to make sure that you have a strong sense of belonging, feel valued, and appreciated in every space that is associated with the Rural Area School District, and we are definitely committed to that. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll turn it over to our board if they have any comments.
Thank you so much for sharing. You say you're nervous, but you presented yourself so very well. It is nerve-wracking to be coming up here, but you have represented your organizations very, very well. So thank you. And I love choice, choice, and change. So I have to write it down so I can actually read it. But thank you. It's great to hear from you. So we appreciate it. So much. Or is there any other questions?
I just want to thank you for being here. I am slightly biased to her space, but I am forever grateful to see students who are in her space, especially being able to hear our students talk about the creativity that they're able to bring to the space and finding the space and creating one that is their own. So thank you for being here. You did a great job. You did not seem nervous at all. We're nervous on this stage every week as well, so no worries at all. So good to see you. Anyone else?
We just want to thank you again for taking the time out to come and share tonight with us, and we really appreciate what's going on in Savannah, and we appreciate the role that your leadership is playing, and girls, we appreciate the leadership that you are also exhibiting within Savannah. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. So you'll have two plaques for the representation today, one for the Vice Student Union and the other for her space. Just want to read the acknowledgement. Congratulations for being recognized by the Rural Area School District Board of Education for your commitment to all students of African and African American descent. We applaud your mission to create unity, not only by words, but in actions. And you aim to foster student, staff, and community growth and development level of consciousness and awareness of being African and African American in today's society. We appreciate your time and commitment to our students. Please keep up the great work. On behalf of the Board of Education, we applaud you. always wonder about the enviable task of following our student recognition and then going into superintendent updates, but I'll try to uphold this level of excellence that's there. Staff and students, please make sure that you're safe on the roads up there and travel safely tonight. So I'll begin with our COVID updates. As you can see, we've reached a relatively, I think, one of our lowest ever in terms of COVID cases or positive rates over a 7-day. Our positive rates have fallen well under 1% of cases within our district. We think about the totality of 17 positive cases in 7 days for around 5,700 students. So we are well below the 1% mark. I'll quickly update the communication that went out to the Board of Education, our staff, and all of our families today, and that we will continue to align with PHMDC guidelines, and that alignment does state that we will be a district that highly recommends masks in public spaces in all of our buildings. So that is language that we will adhere to as that guidance shifts on March 1st of this year. So next, I'm very excited as we begin our journey into becoming a far more instruction focused and academic focused district. We are happy to highlight through our academic services team some of our immediate results that we received around our STAR assessment in literacy and math. So we're going to ask members from the academic services team to come to the stage, and then that'll be followed by individual school presentations under the leadership of our building principals.
Just before that, these all questions for the break of the presentation, so we can, there's no vote for the questions.
Good evening to our board, our community. I am Adam St. Shine. It's been a while since I've been up here. I am our district's director of elementary education and our district's assessment coordinator, here to share some of our mid-year data specifically around the STAR assessment. Before I do, I want to make a couple points. One, what is the STAR assessment? The STAR assessment is a benchmark assessment that our students take in fall and winter and spring. And it assesses their knowledge of the Common Core standards. The assessment takes about 20 minutes each one. Some of our students will take multiple, depending on the grade that they're in. If you're in a TWEED classroom, you will take STAR reading English, you will take STAR reading Spanish, and you will also take STAR math. And if you're in kindergarten or first grade, you will take the STAR early literacy assessment. And that kind of measures foundational, kind of getting ready to read skills. And our first grade students, as they show proficiency in the STAR early literacy assessment in winter and spring, transition into taking STAR reading. The assessments take about 20 minutes each, and it's a computer adapted assessment where each question our students get correct, the next question gets a little bit harder. If they get a question wrong, the next question gets a little bit easier. So after about 3 or 4 questions, all of our students are operating theoretically at a frustration level for the duration of that assessment. It gives really good information to our teachers about maybe some areas of strength and areas of growth in particular aspects of reading, particular aspects of math. More so, it's a really good measure of progress over time. I say that though, knowing that the most important work in the assessment that our teachers are doing is happening every single day, of every single week, of every single month in the classroom, and we trust that the knowledge our teachers have about their students is going to show when we take this assessment. We don't teach to the STAR assessment, we teach to the Common Core and trust that learning will show here. So it's our first opportunity kind of as a new district team to share our progress we took in the fall, and we'll highlight some things here, really good progress as we took it again in winter before we will take it a third time in May. So the first slide we see here is representative of So our kindergarten and first grade learners at all our elementary schools, this is the STAR early literacy assessment. You can see across our elementary schools growth between fall and winter in the percentage of students scoring at a proficient or advanced level on that assessment, basically meeting that benchmark. You can also see for some of our districts identified focus groups growth there. You'll see that for each of the percentages, you will see the ratio of students. It's important to know how many students are we talking about when you look at this data. And I want to highlight when we look at some of our focus groups, when we see percentages of growth that are higher than that of all of our students, that's what we want to see because that represents our district and our amazing teachers doing gap closing work. And so you can see that here for STAR early literacy. So moving into STAR Reading English, that's an assessment taken at 2nd through 5th grade for all students through our middle schools and then in 9th grade. You can see them across our levels at elementary, middle, high school. You can see the district average, which encapsulates all of our 2nd through 9th grade students. And once again, 2 of our districts identified focus groups, which would be all of our Black or African American students, 2nd through 9th grade, and all of our Hispanic Latinx students, 2nd to 9th grade, and once again see growth in this percentage of students scoring at a proficient level, meeting that benchmark from fall to fall to winter. Moving ahead, this is STAR Reading Spanish. So this encapsulates our students in the TWE program at Sugar Creek and Glacier Edge elementary schools. Between winter and spring, this will also show data from Badger Ridge Middle School and the TWE students in the program there. So once again, you can see the growth that our students have shown between fall and winter. The reason our Black or African American students that data is not shown is there are less than 10 students in that demographic in our TWE program, and we don't show data when it's less than 10 students. So the last area of growth to celebrate on STAR is our STAR Math assessment. That is an assessment given at the elementary level from 1st to 5th grades and then for middle schools, where all students take that. Once again, you can see that elementary and middle schools, the growth shown there, the average for our district, and a growth rate of percentage of students scoring at that proficient level, meeting benchmark, again, higher for our Hispanic Latinx students and our Black or African American students. It's again showing our teachers and amazing students and the growth there in the gap closing work that we're doing. We have a long way to go, but we are moving in the right direction and hope that all of the amazing work our teachers do in the classrooms will continue to pay dividends as we go into this. With that, really excited to welcome up 2 of our schools. We're going to speak specifically to the continuous improvement work they've done. Country View Elementary School and Badger Ridge Middle School are going to speak to the efforts that they've done and have been engaged in an improvement planning process through their ESSA designations with VDI. They've set them a little bit ahead of this work, and so they've engaged in the challenging work this year, marrying that plan with the theory of action work we've done and done an amazing job. And I've seen amazing results. And so I want to invite our staff from Country View to come up and introduce themselves and talk about the amazing work they've done.
Before we do Country View, do you want to do the just base questions right now?
Is there any questions for, Kennedy? It's great to see you.
I just have one quick question, one quick comment. Is there anything that the, after this, the math, I can't see very well here, and don't know that it's a paradox. So if we could get a copy of that one and a English one, that would be awesome. And then also just want to say, looking at the slide for STAR Early Literacy, like this number makes me so happy that makes me want to cry. This number for Black and African American students, like that is phenomenal, of a 21% increase. And I just think we should all like just celebrate that raging success of these sweet, adorable little kindergarten and first graders. Just having this access, I just thank you so much. This is amazing work and something that you as educators cannot 100% control. And the fact that you can do this is just amazing. So thank you to all of the teachers. This is amazing. I'll stop.
Thank you.
And I
just ask another quick question, in addition to me and the math, thanks for asking that, I don't forget it. When you have the numbers below the percentages, that's the number that were provisionally advanced out of the number that took the test. So I noticed the winter numbers in some cases were lower than fall. Is that just because of student absence?
Student absence, just changes in students, new students coming in, students who have left our district, students returning from potentially being fully virtual. All of those things contribute to the students taking assessment. Our schools continue to, even after the testing window closes, if a student was absent and returns, we'll still give the assessment to have it at it, but not be reported here, but we still use that to inform instruction.
Okay.
Any other questions? I think you have a really good point.
So we'll turn it over to country view, and want to highlight before I do on our continuous improvement cycle, where we're at in our work as a district and with our schools this year. So we have just had the opportunity to kind of evaluate our progress, have engaged in all of those steps and our schools as they've looked at this data and support those conversations with the staff, support those conversations among teacher and instructional teams, support those conversations among individual teachers. We're in the process now of looking at that, reflecting and adjusting, and hopefully finishing that circle as we go into our work this spring and into next year.
Thank you so much, Al. As we transition, I want to, Adam just touched on the continuous improvement process, but I want to help the board really lean in and understand both the intentionality and every step that we take in instructional design here, and our desire that is valuable for our staff and meaningful when we are in our those spaces, and more importantly, that you see the outcomes for the student-based outcomes, which in essence what the superintendent is accountable for student outcomes. I say that, as you recall, in the fall, we did early visits to visit each school to help have an understanding of how can central office best support schools. If we know the magic happens in the classrooms, and we have to secure ourselves in buildings to understand the mission and goals of each of our schools, make sure that we're providing the proper support, and then doing all of the instructional visits that have recently happened to see the theory actually come to life in practice. So these are snapshots of evidence, but I want us to understand the full linear process of the full instructional design of Program School District, because it is different. There's a little bit more. And you're going to have an example of that both in country view and in graduate shortly. That was understand how in fruition and support of our students. So turn it over to Jeff.
So I wanted to start us off with our mission, and this is the mission that we start with. We start every meeting at the beginning of this mission, and this is part of the process that we're trying to do quickly. But this took us all of last year as our school improvement team to create, and how we created this was first just looking at the history of country view and doing a deep dive with that. And then from there, we continue to pull apart like words that would come out to us that we wanted to highlight as part of our who we are at interview. And this is the beautiful statement that we came up with as a team. And so I invite you to come to interview someday. It's posted right in the front, and we have pictures of all of our families. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is just highlighting our professional learning community. This is really the deep work that we've been doing. The three of us as a leadership team have been leading it. Obviously, David Van Sicklen, who is our ETC tech coach, who also is a part of this. And so we're just going to briefly take you through that.
So as a school, we have 100 actions on your schools. Our school this is our goal for our school this year. By the end of the year, we'll introduce this goal, we're moving in the right direction so far. We believe that if we focus on these next 6 components, we will reach that goal. So some of our focuses are, we're constantly focusing on phonics to build those foundational skills, School of culture, we're focusing on the rigorous learning for all learners and achievers, instructional practices, implementing that tier 1 first before we look at any kind of intervention or anything after that. We need to make sure our tier 1 is strong. And we also have a new family and community engagement group this year at Country that is also working to engage all of our families and community and make them a part of the relationship that we have with students and teachers as well. So our PLCs happen every week. We're lucky that when settlements were made, just had the foresight of having common time for all our kindergarten, all for teachers, so that we're able to do this. Staff present at those meetings are usually the classroom teachers, Jessica, all of them. I tend to do 3, 4, 5, Kathy does K1, 2 with us. Our resource staff is there, our ESL staff is there, sometimes special staff is there, sometimes our counselors is there, and we work on a 4 to 6 week inquiry cycle.
I'm going to talk about 2 of the foundational processes that we feel are essential for building effective PLCs. The first one is working agreements. In the fall, all of our teams establish working agreements for their team. And they reflect on these at every meeting. And then in the middle of the year, we do a really deep reflection around the working agreements and revise them for the second semester for the work that we have ahead. The second process that's really foundational is using the role of a process observer. And we put the Corona equity statement at the top of this slide. Yeah, well, that's up there too. Because we feel like the process observer is a driver of our equity work at Country View. Basically, a process observer is a person who is trained and is one of our leaders, and they collect data at every meeting around a process that we've decided as a team for them to focus on. And they're trained as part of our equity leadership team. All of our process observers are leaders on that team. They collect objective data that they share at the end of the meeting. It's not meant to be a judgment, but it's a chance for celebration and goal setting on what a team needs to do next. The second slide on process observers shows our focus over the last couple of years has been on asset-based language. We're just waiting for that one.
Yeah, can you move the next slide, please?
And there are a couple of reasons why we work on process-based language. First of all, language matters. And we know that with language, we build relationships. We also know that when we use asset-based language, we're looking at the strengths that our achievers bring to us and their experiences. And when we can phrase it and use it as assets, we're really establishing a sense of belonging, which is needed for learning to occur. So this is a chart that shows some shifts that we can make in our language to move from deficit to asset-based.
And I'm going to focus a little bit on our 4 to 6 week inquiry cycle and some of the things that we do as part of that cycle. We start off with the analyzing student improvement document. This was something we adapted from the Behind Teacher project. And basically, 3rd through 5th grade teachers give a pre-assessment for each unit. We meet together as a PLC. We look at what the priority standard is, what should it look like if you did meet that standard, and then teachers sort of sort the work. Students that are approaching the standard, students meeting the standard, students exceeding the standard, so that we can plan accordingly for each group of students. We also look at the students' strengths and areas of need, and then we reflect and plan for the unit and for the next couple of weeks. Next up, maybe 2 weeks or so later, we meet again. We look at our exit tickets. We look at the data that we collected in that 2-week span or 3-week span, depending on what the unit is. And then teachers kind of think of this like as a microscope. We're kind of zooming in. So we're looking at one of those groups that we looked at our analyzing student data, and now we're thinking about these specific students. We adapted this also from the We Got This book. That was a book that our SIT team did as a book study last year. And so here we're looking at what success looks like in reading and what areas might need to be addressed for the students to access the learning. So once again, we're zooming in on that specific group of kids. We do that for about another 2 weeks or so, depending, and then we go to the next slide. And we zoom in even more. And we're now looking at another document that we also adapted from We Got This. And we know that continuous improvement is made of small and required steps. So this is an even closer look at those students who are thinking about my student document, where we have a 1 to 2 week or 1 week just plan of what we're going to do with those students to continue moving them forward.
Excellent. So once we've gone through that process, then we will really have been able to identify what student that we really need to focus on based on the data that we have thus far. And so when we're focusing on that particular student, we're looking at data, but it's not necessarily just like the star data that Adam talked about. We're looking at the reflection of the student's strength, culture that child brings with them, and just the joy is a great membership. Great way to just really look at how are they doing at school, because that's a big part of our school activity. Student observations and interviews, so the individual child, but also a big part of the work that we're doing, that the teachers do. And then from there is when we really create an action plan and incorporate that in one student, and then we analyze that. Next one, please. So this was just a quick overview of like what we do in the 4-6 cycle, and we're in the middle of one right now. And so we're watching some of the cluster. And this is just a snapshot of our star data on the district board. And so this is the star reading, which I discussed earlier. And so we can see our second grade students, and this is our students that identify as Black or African American. That is our focus of our pool. And for our second grade students, they were at 38% in the fall, and then they moved to a 45% proficient in English, that's 47%. Our third grade kiddos were at 56% proficient in the fall, and 63% in the past winter, which is another 12%. Our fourth grade kiddos were at 11% proficiency in the fall, grew to 15% proficient in the winter, which is close to 39%. And our fifth grade kids, they were at 17% proficient in the fall, and we were 43% proficient in the winter, which is about 26%. Next slide, please. And this is for our kindergarten friends who take the Star Literacy. And they were at 13% proficient in the fall, and we were 56% proficient this winter, which is about 38%. And we weren't able to show our first grade growth because they take different assessments, so that growth was not, that wouldn't be like the same growth, but when we pull it apart and look at it, they did have growth, we weren't able to exactly do that. Growth scale for the two different assessments. All first graders take early bit in the fall, and then some first graders take the early or just repeat so.
And this next slide is a quote that we wanted to end with, because we feel like it really summarizes the intentional work and actions that we're taking to improve student outcomes and create a sense of belonging. And I wasn't planning on reading this book, but you would like to. And the final slide is just some of the resources that we can use.
I'm a school co-founder at Reclaim for last candidate. This actually became chills when I see the gaps that it goes. And that's truly very good research. This is such a foundational aid that we have. You're going to develop anything that for people who do work. That's amazing. And seeing the intentionality process is just So I have a question, that you to express gratitude and like, the former country's family, we have a very soft spot in my heart for, thank you, it's just fantastic to see what's going on.
I also just want to give accolades to the staff and to all of you. In the year that we've still been living in, what's been happening prior to this year, the amount of work and investment and time that's clearly paying off, that just speaks so highly of the staff as well. So I just want to give a huge shout out to how hard everyone is working when there's quite a few things still tugging at us in all sorts of directions. So thank you for providing the space for your staff for the PLC time and for supporting this kind of growth for our learners. It's all just really wonderful work.
Just to add on that, I wanted to ask a quick question. I'm not 90% sure, but last board meeting, we heard there was a decrease in comparison to the last 2 years in curriculum hours. But PLC time is separate from curriculum hours, is that correct?
Not sure.
So our PLC time that we went through was part of their, so that's part of their prep time, where they would go into their,
I think that's a different bucket that Chad had presented, so that, I just wanted to make sure this great work that you all were doing wasn't something we were planning to decrease next year, or if it was, and we were all just kind of aware of that. So, yes, ma'am.
So I just want to take this opportunity and I'll try to be brief because I want to make sure that we respect the time of our brilliant staff and also we want to make sure we have a space for measuring engineers like presentation. But much of as James stated, I just wanted to say how appreciative I am for the contribute staff. Tremendous amount of work, and I want to give a significant amount of shout out to Jess. Jess has been on a leadership journey that not many people are willing to and she leaned into it. She broke through the barriers and she is taking steps. And while those are the charts, those are children. Every day of the child. And Jess has, and her team have looked at every child and said, not in my building. We're going to take the steps. We're going to make sure that you are cared for. And it's not, we're going to love you, but we're going to put rigor in front of you as well. And have high expectations for you and have expectations for what you will be under the leadership that contributes. So that is the type of mindset and should we choose to go over there. I'm so appreciative that we continue to do the work. You know that we got your back and keep doing great things. You're way too much.
thank you so much.
You invite Andrew Ridge and all of a sudden. I'm just going to say this publicly so no one thinks I'm being unprofessional. I'm also monitoring a weather storm to make some decisions about tomorrow. So I'm just jumping out, looking at weather patterns so we can make some decisions about safety. So I'm fully invested in what's happening, but also want to make some decisions on the other two. So just give me 1 second.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jamie. I'm the principal at Badger Ridge.
Hi, good evening. Shayla Glass Thompson, Associate Principal at Badger. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. We will take any opportunity we can to brag on our school. There's lots of really fun things going on. So we are going to start with looking at our theory of action, similar to Country View.
we have a theory of action, and what you're gonna see here on the lower right, I know it's kind of hard to see, but on the lower right, this little visual here is something that Shayla and myself and our Ed Services team put together at the very beginning of the school year, before we even had the structures of the theory of action. We sat in a space and thought, what do we want to accomplish this school year? What is our vision? What is our mission? What do we want to make happen? We also took our school improvement plan from our ESSA designation and took that into consideration. And so the cool thing that happened was we were able to take that visual and really match it up with what our theory of action ended up being. So it wasn't different work because we don't want to put too much new and different things on staff because it feels overwhelming. And so we were really able to take the things that we're already working on and put them directly into our theory of action. So our big goals in our theory of action are really around our instructional practices and data, and using data to set goals. Content literacy is where Badger Ridge is really focusing a lot of our energy. And we, as many of you know, we're an AVID school, and so we are using our AVID strategy, specifically a reading strategy called Marking the Text, as our critical strategy to use in each content area to reach some of our literacy goals. We are also looking at our PBIS work, specifically around our acknowledgements, and we have a really strong restorative practices program at our school as well. Shayla is heading a new, just like with review, we have a new family community engagement team that we are working to bring the voice in of our families and have our family engagement be family driven, not school driven. And you're going to hear a little bit more in just a few minutes about the personalized learning in combination with our staff collaboration goals. The plan is, if we do all of those 6 things and those strategies, is that at the bottom, you're going to see our goal for the year for our STAR is to increase the proficiency for all students from 51% to 56%, which is that 5 percentile. And then also increase our STAR proficiency for our focus group, which is our Black or African American students, from 18% to 28%, which is an increase by 10. And the reason why that is a bigger number, as Adam said, is because we want to be closing gaps. There's also a little selfie of Shayla and I for their very first theory of action, so we're very excited about that.
All right, cool, all that's cool, but this is super cool. So let's just talk about celebrations really quick. So our school, for our goals is, like Jamie just said, literacy. And one of our goals was making sure that we developed or established an environment in where literacy is celebrated. And building a culture of literacy where reading is celebrated and acknowledged. And bringing all the kids together as a community to do that. And so what we did as a school was an all-school reading of Pablo Cartay's epic tale of Arturo Zamora. And the way that, so he actually came to our school and presented an evening presentation and then spent all day with our kids in celebration of reading his book all together as a school. And so the way he got here was really cool. It was just like a quick Instagram message and hey, you should come to my school. And I really didn't think he was gonna respond. I was like, shoot my shot and see what happens. And he responded and he got it up and running, really quick. And the kids were really, really excited about him being in the building and getting to connect with an author, as a collective group. And celebrating reading, right, as a collective community. And so the big thing, as our school is building this, culture of literacy or this environment where students celebrate reading, we thought it would be amazing to actually bring, that author on board and connect with kids in that way. And so that happened.
I think one thing to add to Shayla is about how it was hard to choose a book for all 6th through 8th graders.
Yeah, it was hard. We wanted to choose a book that was representative of like, our student population, but also celebrates multilingualism, right? Because we're a bilingual school that really wants to make sure that all languages are appreciated and represented at school. So we wanted to make sure that we chose a book that would actually capture that. And so when he came, he presented in both English and Spanish, and it was awesome. And that gave our 2 students an opportunity to be bilingual, like in the space, like talk with this author in English and Spanish, and really celebrate that and showcase their skills. So that was an awesome opportunity to choose a book that really represents our school in that way.
Before you move on, can I just commend you? I did attend the public evening and having an 8th grader in read, it was amazing. And his sense of identity, his multicultural sense of identity, I know that really sunk in for my students and probably many others. I just thought his presentation was really great, so I just want to thank you for bringing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. I went to it with my daughter as well. It was just a really great event, and really well attended. So it's just really.
All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about, these are all celebrations, but really digging in a little bit with the data. And at the bottom of this data piece, we're going to talk about a little bit of a process that we're using around setting goals with our students and staff. So we're very excited, just like Country View was so exciting to see your games as well. What you see here on the slide is the first 2 bars are 6th grade. So the furthest left is fall, then the one after that is winter. Then it goes 7th grade fall, 7th grade winter, 8th grade fall, 8th grade winter. And this is specifically looking at our Black or African American students because they're a focus group. And if you remember from the slide before on the theory of action, we talked about by the end of the school year, we want to increase the proficiency for our African American students by 10%. So we are well on our way and actually are very, very excited to share that our 6th grade went up 11th percentile, which is already surpassing our goal. Our 7th grade went up 14.2 percentiles, and our 8th grade went up 22.7. So we are extremely excited to see that. And I think one thing that when you're trying to build a data culture with staff, it's really difficult when you don't see the gains, right? So if you're showing data that's flat all the time, or maybe even decreasing, it's really hard to buy into the data. And so something we're really trying to do is celebrate growth. And because we are focusing on literacy, and because we are focusing on specific strategies, you're seeing outcomes. All right, and this is something we just learned how to do at our last principal meeting, but are super excited about. This is the growth. So the difference between proficiency and growth, right, is proficiency, students have to be in the 40th percentile or above to be proficient. But it doesn't take into consideration all of the students who maybe made some huge growth but didn't yet make it to the proficiency level. So what you're going to see here, and the biggest one we want to break on, is that second bar. So there's that gray bar, and then the second bar that says 67%. That is our 6th grade right here. It goes to our 6th grade. This means, and this is our Black or African American students, this means that 67% of our Black students in 6th grade were at high growth, which is unbelievable. And there's no red there, which means none of the 6th grade students who were a part of our focus group had low growth. You can see in 7th and 8th grade as well, we had great data, but that 6th grade data is really unique. And so we're talking with our 6th grade where there's some specific kinds of supports that we're providing to our 6th grade that we're looking to mirror in our 7th and 8th grade as well. All right, this is, you heard Adam talk about the STAR in Spanish. So Badger Ridge, the TWEET program at Badger Ridge kind of came on during the pandemic. And so it's, we've had to really nurture our TWEET program and kind of learn about it as we go and get supports. But one thing that our students at Badger Ridge weren't doing is we weren't taking the STAR in Spanish. Our key students were not doing that, but they were in elementary. So we uncovered this and we're like, wait a minute. So in the fall, that's why you don't see fall data from the Spanish STAR. But in the spring or in the winter, you see that there is data. Now, this is incredible. So these are our students. So it's not only our TWE students, but it's also our newcomers and our English language learners level 1, some level 2 students. You will see this data is the best data set of any data set in our entire school because our students were able to take the assessment in Spanish. So in 6th grade, we have 72.6% are at or above that proficiency level, 30% advanced. 7th grade, very similar, and 8th grade, very similar as well. So what it was telling us is that when we look at the data for Badger Ridge, we're looking at the forward exam and we're looking at the STAR until now. We're looking at students taking the test in English. So it's not giving us an accurate read. The tool isn't accurate to be able to tell us exactly how our students are doing in reading. We know that we program and other, our bilingual programming, we really want to make sure that our Spanish speakers are also becoming proficient in English. But that's a different story than looking at our students' ability to read and understand literacy in that way. So that is something we wanted to share. And then this slide looks just at our Hispanic students, and it's the same kind of ideas I was just sharing, but on the left, you're gonna see STAR reading in English for our Hispanic students, and on the right, you're gonna see our STAR reading in Spanish. So you see the huge difference in the proficiency of our students who are taking the STAR in Spanish. So it gives us this different look at how well our students are actually doing and really lifts up the work of our Latinx population.
All right, so Achieve 3000 is another data set that our school has been closely looking at. So in short, Achieve 3000 is a reading program or tool that all of our school is using, including classes like art, gym, face, all classes across the board at our school. And this reading tool is like a targeted questioning program about the text. So targeted questions about what students are reading and helping students kind of identify or summarize the text in a way that they can understand. And teachers help them understand it. So that's the program in short. So last year was our first year of implementing Achieve 3000. And when we implemented it, on the left side, you will see the lexile levels for growth for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So 6th grade grew by 26 lexiles, 7th grade 22 lexile levels, and 8th grade 28. And then if you look on the right side, this is a full year, this year implementation and increasing the amount of activities students participate in throughout the year. And so as we triple our activities, you'll see that we've doubled the lexile growth. So this year, we have 50, 6th grade has grown by 50 lexile levels, 7th grade 57, and 8th grade 43. And so that just kind of speaks to the work that the really targeted work that we're focusing on this year as it pertains to literacy and helping students understand text. And then also using those AVID strategies to help them get there.
All right, and our last slide to share with you is just a little bit of an explanation about some of the ways we are getting to the results that we just showed you. And really, if you go back up to the theory of action, the two strategies around personalized learning and staff collaboration, that's kind of what this visual is showing. So I'll try and be brief and explain this because I could talk about it a lot, but I know we're running out of time. So at the bottom, you're gonna see the administrator, so Shayla and I, our school vision and goals. So we know, we explained at the very beginning what our school vision and goals are around literacy and culture and climate. So then we take that and we bring it to our Ed Services team. So our Ed Services team is our smaller group of leaders, and we use our Ed Services team as thought partners and collaborators to talk about what kind of professional development do we need. We're looking at data. We're really helping, kind of specifying how we're going to roll out the strategies on our school vision and goals. From there, we bring that to our SIT team, and the SIT team is a bigger group of adults. And this SIT team, we've really embraced a different way of doing business. So instead of just sharing information and having it kind of a meeting where they go back and tell people about, the happenings of the school, what we're doing is we're engaging in a productive struggle. We're disrupting the previous practices, and we're really looking at goal setting and focusing on the strategies in our theory of action and the data. So we're taking that and we're going from admin to Ed Services to SIT. Then the SIT team takes it to the teams. So they go to their teams and they cascade the learning that they just have experienced at the SIT meeting. And then they talk to their teams about, well, this is what we're doing school-wide. We are looking at our vision, we're looking at our mission, we're setting goals, we're collaborating together to do that. And then it goes down to the teacher level. So the teachers then transitions to how do we get our students to do this work, right? So how do we teach our students to then set goals around the work that they're doing? So then the teachers then look at their data through their PPGs and their SLOs and just looking at their class data through EduClimber, and then teach the students how, with their personalized learning, they set and achieve their goals as well. So we kind of take this idea of starting at the bottom with admin and growing it up and always keeping equity in the center. And then we just have a slide with some of our artifacts or things that you can look at if you'd like, and that's all we have for you. If anybody has questions for us, we can have an answer.
Okay, Megan, so seeing this secretary comes out, these are students that we change the direction of their education process. This is really exciting to see. And the amount of work that's gone into this from the staff. Really.
I just wanted to grab on one piece that you shared, Jamie, a bit ago. I know as a board, we've talked about, standardized tests maybe is not the ideal piece of measure that we always want to use for this, but like you had framed, it's inspiring for students and for staff to see change somewhere. So though star data might not be the best data we have, when we pick something, ideal, it's something to grab onto and it's showing gains for students in a really powerful way. So again, I hope that's been inspiring for you and for your staff as well, to have something to really draw from, to see sort of the fruits of the labor and all the hard work that your school is doing as well. So thank you.
I also want to thank you for implementing the STAR Spanish. Having a speech student myself, I know that was, speech students went, oh, we used to do this in elementary school. And so I think that was a nice consistency for them to revisit that. And also nice to see us speak in an asset-based way, because sometimes it's easy to look at the English, literacy data and not have the context of the Spanish literacy data, which shows a lot of, asset-based thinking. So I appreciate that. We will continue to grow the TREAT program. It was a, tough time to have that roll up to middle school during the pandemic. So we look forward to seeing, future growth of that program at middle school.
I also just want to reiterate how exciting it is to actually have data and to kind of be building this culture of looking at data to make decisions. And I do have one question, I maybe should have asked it earlier. When we look at these benchmarks from the fall to the winter to the spring, the benchmark's the same for the grade level. Right? So like to say that somebody is at benchmark or below, the benchmark is the same for that grade level.
So it always will stay at the 40th percentile, but to hit that 40th percentile, there is growth that is factored into it. So it's not exactly, the 40th percentile isn't exactly the same as the fall as it is the winter. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong on this. But it factors in growth. So not only are they meeting it from the, what they would be meeting it at in the fall, but they're meeting it in the winter, which is an actually a higher percentile than it is. It's still the 40th percentile, but the growth is factored in there.
Okay. Great question.
Any other questions?
So before you leave, I'm not gonna let you out of here without celebrating you, both of you. You want to tell about this presentation, that this is Jamie and Shelley's first year at graduate, a new principal and a new assistant principal. And already you can see their journey, embracing culture, embracing student outcomes. And, we think about the future of graduation and this leadership team, that our future is very bright. So we're very thankful to have both of you. I also want to lean in and help everyone understand that we have no intention of shying away from focus groups. We have an expectation that our leaders of schools identify focus groups, and so may as well, what if my student doesn't fall into that focus group? Great instruction is great instruction. And we are we're doing gap closing work because we are accelerating, in essence, some groups that we have not done enough in the past. So just naming it, calling it out, looking at data, and making sure that the students are accelerating as well as all the peers are accelerating as well. And that is what true and authentic gap closing work is about, is when you identify groups through data, talk about work through strategies. If you could, I know it's a long, go all the way back to our equity statement, Rihanna, behind the scenes. But the most important part of our equity statement is identity and need. You can't know the need unless you dig into data, understand who you work with, and identify those needs and put them into practice. Otherwise, it just becomes a slogan on top of our website. And not about the slogans here, but we're all identifying students, making sure we accelerate the work, implement the strategies, and have a structure that support students and support staff in the classroom. And I just want to give a final shout out. Remember, I had a transformational leadership triangle, and graduates just blew it out of the park with their model. And so, if they don't mind, that's going to be actually our new cascading model, because that actually gets to the onus of what it truly means for cascading learning and distributed leadership come alive by elevating students and teachers and making them show magic gaps in the classroom. So thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you.
This last Councilman, we're going to be sending our messages to you so you can do your Instagram magic. That's okay. So we need to change the agenda. We're going to move to public comment. If we have anyone in the audience who wishes to speak tonight, please fill out the sheet and I'll call you up at that time. At this point, I don't have any public comments in person, but I do have one that was submitted online. This was submitted on February 14th from Steve Faust. And it reads, I want to encourage the board, if this is within your scope, to request mass to stay through the remainder of the school year. It has been so nice having our children in school full time without interruption. And we very much don't want to switch to virtual. If that's how the least for them to be switched to virtual school, we would like that to remain. Thank you. And thank you to Ms. Faust. I appreciate you writing in today. Are there any other public comments at this time? Seeing none, I'd like to move then on to our development session. And again, I'm keeping an eye on time. Ms. Felix, to follow up.
Absolutely. So, just for safe travel, administration that does not have to be here for closed session, please safely go ahead and journey home. I appreciate you being here. I know everyone's dedicated, but your safety is more important, so.
You can watch us online. Okay, so looking at our, I want to have a conversation with the board table about, following our discussion. For those who don't know, we had a development workshop, last week ago Saturday, and spent that day just kind of talking through how we can better our practices and our participation in the community. One of the conversations that came out was how we conduct effective communication as a board to our communities, and I would want to bring that here because we're talking about potentially forming a committee to help move that work ahead. Before we do that, I want to see if there's any comments from the board, or if you want to, if you feel comfortable moving forward with that action, let's go ahead and do that. I want to get a state session so there's no questions or concerns the board may have about doing that. Okay, so we have kind of an informal agreement at this point, so if there's all in favor, thumbs up. With that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and come to the committee. But again, this is a committee that's joined the board that's going to come back. This is going to be a board communication plan. It's just parsing out some of the work so that we can keep moving this forward. Get interrupted by ice storms or whatever it may be, but we do want this work to be able to continue doing it sometimes most of the time we do so. So Christina, ask that you chair this committee. Jeff and I can co-chair because we have a committee. It's going to help with two people that can move this meeting forward in case of absence. And then Nicole, I'll also ask you if you might be a participant on this committee. And I think from the board, I'd like to have a directive kind of for this first work, and then have you all report back to the board so we can make sure that we are all moving forward in a way that feels authentic for the board as a whole. Is that comfortable for everyone? At this point, I think I'm still going back to clarity, and we will have a point person. We are a new public information officer, so that we liaison from administration to work with the committee. And I was hoping that the committee can take on this leader, what type of frequency works for the board, kind of the who, what, where, and how, start defining some of the basics in the initial steps forward, so we can have meaningful outreach and communication with the community. Not just spinning our wheels. So, is there anything, any questions from the board? Anything that, or we want to just send this committee on the way and have a report back on the site? And at this point, anything that comes up with the vision of the board as a whole, be reaching out to the community, to share. I do hope that the committee is going to be gathering insights, so this goes into the forward.
I have a quick question. You said they would bring things back on March 7th. Is that enough time for our PIA? I don't remember when the start date was.
That's what I was gonna ask too.
The start date is March 1st, right?
Yeah.
Is that really?
Well, I'm going to put that to the committee, if they want to be on the agenda for the 7th, we'll reach out prior to the Thursday program meeting. If additional time is needed, then we will push out to the next meeting. Again, it's reasonable for all involved. As soon as they really say that to be able to walk first. We run out of so if the 7th is not time, we take early from
Here, I just want to encourage any board member who has something to contribute, even if you're not a student member of the committee, feel free to email, and we will start a list. I know we have a lot of ideas at our retreat for communication, and as Mary said, we'll have to prioritize and figure out first steps, but there's a lot of good ideas, so please feel free to share those.
Absolutely. I think, is there anything else or anything that is communication, maybe communication is that something that to communications today?
Yeah, we will go directly to the committee. If you could reference back to the leadership letter from last Thursday. That has a kind of a template of a starting point. We have two very large topics, and I just want to also publicly state, while we, in our communication, we may talk about a potential referendum, I want to ensure our public, their investors, and no decisions from our Board of Education as far as providing proposing a question for a referendum. But we do have a directive from our Board of Education to explore what that may mean for the community, so the communication team will be communicated in that form, but I just want to be very clear that the current referendum question that was left by the Board of Education. Secondly, we have transitioned to a full board governance council model, and we want to make sure that our community understands what that entails. You've seen that model in terms of student outcomes coming from the superintendent side and policy and approval of policy from the Board of Education. We just want to make sure our full community has embraced that, so that'll be part of the messaging that is crafted through the communication team or ad hoc committee, and we want to make sure our language is consistent and make sure that our public understands what that means for our reason what we do forward.
That sounds great. And so as part of this, in the schedule time before the issue starts, maybe the communication, really in circle of it, you can give us more information about how that works, as far as what we move forward, but I think putting that and network moving, instead of the board table is.
So as we come together before March 11th on March 1st, if we could really reference the timeline, the February and March timeline, at least, so if there needs to be any changes to that at all, we can discuss that. That'll be, as we're almost done with February already. And some of the questions you'll see will be posed by March 7th if we decide to communicate in the manner that's what we do with the leadership update.
Okay, so communications, we appreciate what the take on this issue, and sometimes we really reach out to them and get scheduling for these first steps. Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, we go to superintendent's agenda. There is a chance for board personnel updates and payment of bills. Are there any questions about the superintendent's agenda?
Really quick, Mary, I just want to thank Amy Appladash for her work within our district, especially during the pandemic. And she worked really, really hard to support our students and make sure that we had all of the necessary things technology-wise to make sure that our students could get a great education during COVID. And it was a quick transition, and she handled it, her and her team handled it very well. So I just want to thank her for her work within the district, especially since the pandemic.
Thank you, I echo that. Amy has just been an excellent team member, just within the chief accomplished for the unprecedented times that we rely so heavily on technology. It's been absolutely amazing, and she sadly is departing, which so, any other comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, this consent agenda has been passed. Okay, we take over the board consent agenda, the meeting minutes from our February 7th meeting. Are there any questions or comments about consent agenda? Seeing none, that too has passed. Future agenda items, we have another meeting on March 7th, March 28th, we will see that meeting date, so that's the scheduled date, April 4th and April 18th. Okay, so with that, and I've got to get down to tiny little letters. With that, I'd like to adjourn the closed session of the Wisconsin statute 19.85, sub 116, for the purpose of discussing negotiations with VESTA and VASD under Wisconsin statute 19.85, sub 17G, to confer with legal counsel for the governing body, including rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted with respect to litigation, which is or is likely to involve regarding the case of Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
Someone.
I have a motion from Nicole, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Joe. All in favor, I'm going to take a roll call vote, starting with Joe.
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
Luciana? Aye. Christina?
Aye.
Nicole? Aye. John?
Yep.
And I will vote aye as well. Your time for the closed session will give it a minute or two to figure out, and we will proceed in closed session. Thank you.